Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is still doing well, and welcome to today's bonus upload. Before we jump into it, a couple links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button. It takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help this channel to continue to grow and go. And yes, they definitely do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to this bonus upload, shall we? So, state is redacted, county redacted. He is a deputy sheriff patrol officer. He patrols the highways and on occasion will do traffic stops on tractor trailers that have kind of weight infractions and whatnot. If there's any kind of questionable things that look questionable, he's the one that does it. He's about a couple miles from a way station, and the person in charge of the way station witnesses this truck kind of just fly by. Doesn't even make an attempt to get weighed, just blows right through. And it has a very famous, and we're still going to remain anonymous on this, because if you are familiar with certain grocery chains, they are not countrywide. The majority of them are, state to state or whatnot, a couple states here and there. So it's got a large refrigerated trailer, and it is one of those trailers that display the advertising of that grocery store. Excuse me. He sees it blow by, and it's flying, going well over the speed limit. And he gets behind the truck, pulls the truck over. There's a discussion with the truck driver. The truck driver is asked to give him the log of his hours driven, hours rested, what he picked up, where he picked it up, yada, yada. And he kind of is like, no. I don't really, have to do anything that you say. This is way above your pay grade, pal. And that really put him on high alert, because who in their right mind says that? As he's walking up, he touched the truck, the trailer, and he said that he felt it jostle a little bit. And that's kind of what got him, because he's like, and he noticed that the refrigeration unit was not plugged in to the tractor. So he's kind of like, all right, I just put my fingers on this to indicate that I was here. The truck, or the trailer, the truck has been stopped, but there was a jostle in that trailer, and there is no refrigeration hooked up to this. That's a little weird. And now the driver is being combative verbally combative and uncooperative at all. Now he gets the driver out of the vehicle. He and this driver are having kind of a heated discussion where the driver's like, listen, I don't have to tell you this. Call a supervisor, get a supervisor here. I work for the government. You are making a mistake. You do not want to do this. This is bad for your career. Pretty much what you see those sovereign citizens say to police officers in those crazy videos on YouTube. And he's just really now he's went from high alert to getting kind of pissed off. Like, who the hell is this guy? Above my pay grade, call the supervisor, this, and that. And he's questioning everything in his head as he's making this stop. But he's noticing as he's talking with this truck driver that there's a fairly strange but noticeable smell. He has this kind of smell that he recognizes it, but he can't place it. It doesn't smell good, but he's like, what the hell? And during this period of time, he does put it together that it kind of smells like a fresh, clean barn would smell. With hay and animal, but not a uncleaned barn, where you smell, fecal matter and urine and such, but just that kind of scent. And if you've been at like any kind of barn, you know what I'm talking about. And the driver is just, get your supervisor here. Here's my friggin' log. I want your supervisor here. I'm in a time crunch. I come through here. We come through your county on a weekly to monthly basis, and we've never been pulled over. This is a routine commute for us. All acting like he wasn't speeding, all acting like he wasn't following the laws. And at this point, he does contact his supervisor, calls dispatch, says, I need a supervisor here, ASAP, combative, tractor trailer driver, but he is requesting a supervisor. As he's standing there and that is done, he says, listen, I work for the government. As he's trying to explain, he does say, this started off wrong to the sheriff deputy. I work for the government. I have my credentials. Let's just get this going. I'm on a crunch here. I've got places to go. I've got precious cargo to get the hell out of here. And he starts to question, like, what's in the trailer. He's thinking drugs, stolen merchandise, human trafficking. He's got all of these kind of thoughts, especially with the human trafficking, with that jostle when he touched that back of the trailer. And he noticed that there was a large kind of padlock on the truck. And he said, I'm going to pull my credentials. And he quickly reaches to get his wallet. And the deputy pulls out his service pistol because he doesn't know what's going on. All he knows is this guy has been super combative. And now he's reaching, claiming that he works with the government. And so he's, get your hand, let me see your hand, yada, yada, pushes him against the car or against the tractor trailer as holding him at gunpoint. and backing away, telling him to stay, puts his service pistol in and decides, you know, I'm going to cuff this guy regardless of who he says he is, because there's so much going on that if he was a government employee or an agent or whatever, why would he be doing all of these crazy, you know, breaking the law, making himself noticeable, but yet throwing out that, you know, this is the biggest mistake of your career? Because it would be different if he wasn't speeding, if he had passed through that wait station, just the normal thing. He does pull his wallet, and there's the credentials, Department of Homeland Security. The second he sees that, that's when this guy gets just really kind of boisterous and nasty. You know, where's your supervisor? I told you, you son of a, you're gonna lose your fucking job, this, and that. Going right upside him and down the other. Couple minutes go by and his supervisor pulls up behind his SUV and starts to walk towards them. And as he noticed this, and there were things that he purposely left out that he did not want to share because he wanted to see if there was any repercussions or if anything would be said. As his supervisor is walking midway to them, he's probably 3/4 of the way to them, but real close to the trailer. And he stops and kind of looks at the trailer and has this kind of like, what the hell face. You know, he turns, looks, and just as his expression, the deputy noticed it, and he's like, in his head going, what did he, you know, there's got to be something going on, you know, and especially if this guy is who he says he is, or if these are fake credentials. Traffickers have been known to carry fake credentials to do their job or do their illicit work, whatever you want to call it. And the supervisor comes, talks to the deputy, talks to this guy. Deputy gives him his credentials. The log is on the car or on the front of the vehicle. Supervisor goes back, starts looking at the log, looking at the credentials. You can see him getting onto not the radio, but he takes his phone out of his pocket and makes a phone call. And he's standing there making the phone call. He then turns and looks. So he's looking at his vehicle like this, the tractor trailer and his deputy, and this guy is behind him. And he kind of turns and looks at the back of the trailer where the door would open, with this just real shook look on his face, like almost a worried look, but still like, what the hell was that noise? Look. Gets a response. It looks like he's talking to somebody, and he comes back real quick. He's got the log. He says to the deputy, uncuff him now. Uncuff him right now. Get back to the station. Wait for me. Don't stop anyone. Don't do anything. Just get your ass back to the station. And he's like, what the, like a whole different kind of persona from his supervisor is coming out at him. And as he's uncuffing the Department of Homeland Security, the driver, he's now giving him the riot act as well. Like, you fucking asshole, I told you you're going to lose your job. Ha ha ha. This and that. Told you it was well beyond, above your pay grade. Who the hell do you little peons think you are? And he's saying this in front of the supervisor that is telling him to be uncuffed, you know? And that's really registering with the deputy. Like, wow, this guy is just off his rocker. Like, I was just told to let him go. I'm letting him out of his cuffs, but he's now talking crap about me and the county, the law enforcement of this county, this and that. And he gets back into his car and kind of loops it and heads back. Now, when he is walking after the riot act was read to him, his supervisor is now making contact with the driver. He's walking by and he's smelling and he can hear movement. And he hears walking. And it's bipedal walking. And in his head, he's now still thinking, there's people in there. There is human, he's trafficking. And he turns and says, listen, there's something in here. We need to open this up. I just heard someone walking in here. And his supervisor looks at him again and says, get out of here. Just get out of here. I'll be there at the station. I'll talk to you when I get there. This and that. So he shakes his head because none of this is making any sense to him at all. Like, he's telling him, I hear someone walking in here. This guy's acting crazy. Now my supervisor acting crazy. So he turns and he hears the walking following him. But what he now realizes is that he hears clicking. Like if a dog or an animal with claws would walk, he's hearing that clicking on the floor of the trailer. And he's now like, this is, what the hell? And he hears this growl. This just long, low growl. Not very loud, loud enough for him to hear, and loud enough for his body cam to pick up. And he's walking and he's saying out loud to himself quietly, there's something in there walking. It sounds like an animal would with, like a dog would with claws on the bottom of this, or the floor of this trailer. And there's a growl. And the growl has now followed him to where he is at that door. And that's when he gets in his vehicle and takes off, heading back to the station. The ride there, he's trying to make sense of it. He's listening to the radio to see if there's any kind of call in from the supervisor that he does need assistance, because he's getting worried in his head because none of this is making sense. His supervisor is alone with this guy just like he was. And, shit went south pretty quick. So he's listening to the radio and thinking about what would click, what would growl like that. What the hell is going on? And every kind of scenario, he's like, maybe, they're smuggling exotic animals. Maybe like a lion or a tiger or a hyena or something was in there, got out of its cage somehow, and now is stalking around in this trailer. And of course, then he realizes none of that makes sense, because this did not sound quadruped. It sounded more bipedal. The only thing is there were claws. You could quite body cam pick that up as well. So he gets back to the station. So he's back at the station waiting for the supervisor to come. And he's talking to a couple of the deputies that are there. trying to make sense of what just occurred. You know, he's like, this just happened. Have any of you guys ever had any kind of run-in? Or because I've been, you know, a patrol deputy here for quite some time, I can't make any sense of, you know, what just happened. You know, I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. One of the guys that he's kind of friends with, outside of the job, kind of says, you know, listen, waits for the other deputy to kind of lose interest. Listen, I've heard that the government comes through our county to get to this other state because they have, you know, some sort of laboratory or kind of experimental something that's going on. And he said there are probably going to be a couple of guys that come in a little bit that are going to want to talk to you. Act like you don't know anything that I'm telling you right now, but the government and military are using and creating some sort of kind of super soldier kind of weapon. That's just what I've heard from different people, different departments, different counties and state police, yada yada. And he's just like, what do you mean? You know, creating soldiers, creating what? He's like, this did not sound like a human. He said this was bipedal. Yes, the only thing that was human sounding was that it was bipedal, but there was clear clicking, like this thing, whatever was in there, had claws on its feet. What the hell are you talking about? And he kind of just says, you know, just wait until the two guys come and talk to you. I don't want to be seen talking with you before that. And obviously with the cameras in the station and such, being monitored. And, you know, he's like, all right, whatever. And as he's walking away, he kind of says, the deputy that he was talking to says, you know, werewolves and big feet are real. And he just keeps walking. And he's like, what the fuck? Werewolves and Bigfoot are real? Like, the hell does that mean? So 30 minutes go by. His supervisor walks in. Get in my office right now. You could tell he is not upset, but he is all business. He goes in the office, picks up the phone, starts talking to somebody, puts the phone down, and says, you know, I have no choice. This is coming from way above me. And if it was up to me, I would, you know, let it slide. But you get 2 weeks paid vacation. And, you know, you're going to have to sit here for a little bit until a couple of people interview you. And there is no kind of getting out of that. You know, so go punch out, sign off, go into the interrogation room and wait. You know, you're not fired. You're not losing anything. This is paid. It was able to get that for you, but listen to what is said and do not ask questions. Just shut your mouth, don't ask questions, and move on. Just move on. does what he's told. He's asked if, should I give you my pistol? Like, what do you want my badge? No, you're good. This is a vacation for you. Take it. Take it. It's not going to be in your record. There's going to be no write-ups. But remember that I did this for you. And remember what I said. Don't ask questions. Goes and sits in the interrogation room. And his mind is racing now. Because he's like 2 weeks paid off. Something that made this noise. This, and that. And my supervisor is acting completely like a nutcase. I can't make any sense of it. And then my friend says, werewolves and big feet are real. Like, and he specifically said, that's what the guy said, big feet, meaning plural or whatever. Maybe that's the way the guy addresses Bigfoot. Who knows? He doesn't know, because he, at this point, doesn't talk to his friend very much anymore at all after this. He's kind of not shunned, but getting evaluated day by day. So he's in there, he's thinking about all this, and these two business-looking men walk in. Very professional looking, very young looking, maybe 30s. So prior to this, being seated with these two business-like men in suits, you can tell definitely that they are either top brass or government. He doesn't know. It still doesn't know to this day. But after he said, werewolves and big feet are real, he wanted to see if his body cam had caught anything. And he sits at his desk and pulls up the footage, and he could clearly hear the clicking, the growl. He also, the body cam, when he first made contact with the trailer, that initial jostle that kind of scared him a little bit, they had caught that too. So now he knows, hey, I'm not crazy. There is actual footage of this. My body cam, he's surprised that his body cam even picked it up. So he's now in this room, in the interrogation room, a room that he usually has control of, but on this day, he does not have any control, and he can tell. These guys, very businesslike, kind of slicked back hair, but very nondescript. Like, these guys looked similar to each other, but not. They just didn't have any kind of personality in their face. They had nothing. They were just nondescript. These guys got a file. One of them's got this file, and he flips through and starts rattling off information about this deputy. This is where you live. This is who you're married to. This is where your kids go to school. And he's like, what the fuck? Like, confused and angry. He's angry because now, who the hell are these guys to say anything to him like that? He's not a criminal, but now you just brought my wife and children into this. You are discussing, my personal life outside of me being a sheriff's deputy. But, they keep just giving him almost kind of like intimidation to this deputy. Like, This is what you care about. This is who you are. We know who you are. We know everything about you. What happened today did not happen. Do you understand this? This doesn't go any further than this room. We've talked to your supervisor. He has been made aware of this. And as of right now, you are just, your supervisor fought for a 2-week paid leave for you. If it was up to one of us, you probably wouldn't have a job right now, but your supervisor went to bat for you, which he is just, pretty excited because he was thinking he was going to lose his job, this, and that. And as he's getting grilled and they are just nondescriptly saying, just forget about this. And he, out of the blue, says, well, how am I supposed to forget about something that my body cam picked up? I know there was something in there. What's in there? Why wasn't the trailer refrigeration unit hooked up? If, this truck driver has got a grocery trailer, what really is going on? And he makes the error, which he quickly had to backtrack because now he's worried about his friend. But he made the error of saying, and who the hell said werewolves and Bigfoot are real? Do you believe that? What's the government up to? Super soldiers? Just kind of being, and he said this himself. He said, I was provoking these guys. One, because they had brought my family into this, and not really in a threatening manner, like you don't say anything, but in that persuasive manner of, hey, we know you have your family, just shut up and go with it. So when he makes that comment of werewolves and Bigfoot, one of these agents, because they never once identified themselves with any kind of agency. And he did not realize that until well after the meeting. The agent that's sitting without the file, the one that has not spoken, still very similar in description to the other guy, but just everything was off. He takes his sunglasses off and stares at this deputy. And the deputy has now made eye contact because he is now thinking, I'm great. I'm going to be threatened. Can these guys arrest me? He was not being cooperative at all. And when we were talking, he said, I kind of had to laugh about it later on because of how I was acting. And he said, I was acting like any criminal that we've ever had in that room would act. He's like, I was cocky. I said this, and that. So this agent takes his glasses off and leans real close to him. And that's when he realizes that he is still similar to this, but this guy's much bigger than the agent that had been talking, that had the file. And he stares him dead in his eyes and he says, listen, we don't know where you heard this from, but you need to just drop everything that you've heard, said, talked about, everything. Tell us who you talked to when you came back here. We can find out, but tell us. Give us the sense of that you're an honest person. And he's like, fuck you. I'm not telling you shit. You tell me something, you tell me what is going on. He's not already aware that he's not getting fired. He's kind of poking the bear to see what'll happen. And the agent, still staring, has not even blinked, just staring dead in his eyes. He said that his eyes went from this really they were this hazel green color, but they went to this ice blue color. They turned in front of me. Not just the color, he said, but the eye shape. Everything regarding his, eye shape changed, and it looked very similar to what a reptilian or a reptile would look. And he got real aggressive and said, "We just told you what you are going to do. We can have things happen after this. You will leave this room, but your life will not be the same after, for you, your children, and your wife. Do you understand?" He's fucking in shock, because he's sitting here. He's pretty much going toe to toe with these guys. And then he pulls this, and his eyes just change from this hazel green to this icy blue color. It's just very terrifyingly void of consciousness or conscience. Excuse me. He thought that he was going to get killed right there. There was just nothing except, you are going to do what we said to do, and you are going to shut up, or you might not leave this room. That was not said, but how he was getting that was that vibe he was getting. Terrified about the eyes. He said, "I still dream sometimes. Not every day, but there's times that I will dream about that incident and what I went through in that room." But his eyes changing was the worst thing he has ever seen. I was petrified, Jeff. I thought, this thing was going to, obviously it's not human. So I thought it was going to just come over and whatnot. He quickly changes his whole tone and complies, because now he is very stressed and very nervous. He doesn't know what is going to happen next. And they get up, and one guy looks at him and says, "Remember what you said, and remember what we said, or we will see you again at your residence. We will come to your residence. Do not stir the pot anymore. You don't want to tell us who you talked to when you got here. We'll find out." And so they get up and leave, and he's just sitting in this interrogation room holy shit, what just happened? Did that really just happen? Was I threatened in my own station with my direct supervisor, other deputies, So he's sitting in this room for a good 4 minutes, 5 minutes. Gets up, goes into his supervisor's office, sits down, and the supervisor says, "Here's your paperwork, sign it, have a good 2 weeks. We'll talk to you when you come back. Don't talk about this anymore, all right? Just end it now, end it today. Don't think about what occurred today with you and these, everything. Just move on." Gets up and says, "All right, I'll see you, in 14 days. Goes home and really just kind of went into a rabbit hole, just tumbled into this rabbit hole. And now believes without a shadow of a doubt that these reptile things could access and harm him, harm his family, cause great, problems for him. But he also realizes that this shit is real, 100%, that there is something going on. And he starts to look at the county over and then the state over. And he says, at that point, when I went down that rabbit hole, I realized what I was talking to would be your typical men in black, but these icy blue reptilian eyes. Was the other guy, none of it made sense, but at least he had some kind of opinion or view on the matter. He goes, looks, reads more, finds more, figures out about, reads some stuff about Montauk, the Montauk chair, super soldiers, this and that. This is a couple years ago. This isn't, last week. And comes back in. Everything's smooth. Hey, what's up? The deputy that said that werewolves and big feet are real. He's kind of off a little. But still, there was a kind of a weird vibe, and he felt real bad about throwing him under the bus. But at that point in time in that interrogation room, he really didn't think he had a choice. He didn't think he had anything. Checks his computer, goes into the files of body cam, and realizes that footage from that day was gone. Talks to the supervisor. The supervisor's like, listen, between you and I'm well aware of what you heard. I heard the same thing. We got to let it go. There are government bases a state over from us, so a half an hour to 45 minutes away from us, that has deep underground military bases all throughout those areas. And he puts it together that, holy shit, that's where this truck was transporting whatever was in there to one of these deep underground military bases. He hasn't questioned anything since. Just realizes that everything had been cleaned up and protected during that 2-week period of time. The only person that acted a little strange, but then came around and didn't talk about anything like that again, was the deputy, his supervisor, on point as normal, like nothing happened. And he thinks that quite possibly there are parts of some of those conversations that he had that he doesn't remember. Like, there are just bits and pieces of, what the hell? I can't remember that. I can't remember this. Did they do something to me? And as going down the rabbit hole, starts finding YouTube channels, starts talking to different people, and reached out to me and one other larger YouTuber. That person, I guess, hasn't responded to him yet. And he doesn't know how to go about even talking to this other person because he's concerned about his anonymity. So that was the update. The supervisor also heard what was, going on the trail cam. Kind of was stating, hey, there are things out there that we don't know about. There are things out there and people out there that no matter how high up we are, it's just fucking nuts, man. This poor guy. So let's jump into part 2 of today's upload. All right, so the second part, I was going to kind of deep dive into the reptilian Men in Black thing, but I'm going to hold off because there's something I want to look into, and it's an old interview that Tom Castiello did right before he disappeared, where he talks about reptilian greys and strange cryptids being spotted near Dulce and other deep underground military bases. Just for some reason, that this sheriff deputy talking about these 2 men in black creatures, and I say creatures because one had reptilian eyes. There's a connection, 100%, and I just wanted to reread the article or interview with Tom Castiello and then share it with you. But kind of looking at a couple different things. And there you have it, folks. I do hope you all enjoyed today's bonus as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you all, and I'd like to thank you for supporting the channel. It is, after all, your support that helps the channel to continue to grow and go, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve, and I do appreciate that, so thank you. Please, everyone, stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real. They are out there and dangerous. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.